Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
Oh, and turn your camera off, Dave, because we don't want to look at you, and you don't want to look at me either. Trust me, you don't want to spend an hour plus looking at me. That's nothing.
You're a handsome man.
Yeah, that's nothing. You'll be having nightmares. So this is on the free channel. It means it's a couple of weeks from NERPM. Are you excited?
I am.
How many times have you been, Tom?
I think I have been there twice. I was there once when it was in the community center.
Wow, that's a long time ago now.
Yeah. I think it was like 2015 or 2016, something like that I was there the first time. And then I was just there last year.
Okay, last year, and you're going again this year.
I am. And I'm presenting this year, too, again.
Yeah, I see that. Again, no, you presented last year?
I presented every time I've been.
The first time in 15, what was it about? Was it about the layout or?
Yeah, I've always presented on the layout, and back in 2015, I was still very much in the planning and the design phases, so it was much more conceptual back in 2015. Now, last year's clinic was a lot more showing, what had been built so far and kind of what the future plans are. So I'm now on like the third or fourth iteration of that particular clinic.
And I'm assuming you do. I'm assuming, Dave, pretty much everybody does their clinics via PowerPoint or something like that.
For the most part.
Yeah. Are there still people doing it with slides?
There are fewer and fewer.
But there's still some people.
We always have a slide projector, and I think we always end up using it.
Oh, okay. So anyways, this podcast is on the free channel. Tom, you got a heavy responsibility tonight.
Okay.
So it's on the free channel, and it's about NERPM, the Northeast Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet. Is that correct, Dave?
It is, and sometimes we call it New England. We call it both. We go back and forth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You should talk to Otto Vondrak. Because for years now, it's going on years. I've been trying to encourage him as he's the managing editor now. Of Railfan and Railroad, and I've been trying to encourage him to 1 month make it Railfan and Railroad, and the next month Railroad and Railfan, and alternate each month. So then you don't have to remember. You're not going to be you'll never be incorrect.
Right.
Well, there's strong logic there.
Yeah, it's very strong. And you're being in the newspaper guy and the print business and the publishing business and the media business for years. You could probably understand my take on the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And so anyways, because you just said it's, you guys switch back from Northeast Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet to New England Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet, I thought maybe you could have a little chit chat with Otto and enlighten him into how much better it makes it for everybody.
Yeah, Lionel's idea was a good one. I'll tell him.
So we have here tonight, we have me, the evil overlord Lionel, we have the Queso Cowboy, a.k.a. Tom Jacobs, and we have Dave Owens, who is, what's your official title, Dave, with NERPM?
The main guy.
Oh, you're, okay, so it's main guy, and then there's a secondary guy, and...
Everybody plays a crucial role.
Now, how come you're so concerned about being like the show director or something?
Well, you don't do this alone. I'm sort of the top guy, but I have people who are indispensable, and I couldn't do it without them.
Well, sure, but don't you guys have meetings? And I'm going to go with you're what's Tom? What do they call the guys that run RPM meets?
Well, I mean,
the glutton, maybe the glutton,
right? The glutton for punishment. The ones that I go to, it's usually committee chair, committee man, organizer, something like that. But it's I think to the point that Dave's trying to make, the RPM meets are very much I don't want to say loose, because I mean they're very well organized and executed. But they're much more informal than like an NMRA convention. I mean, nothing, no disrespect to the NMRA or any of those conventions or anything like that, but the RPM meets are very much just get together, share information, share ideas, have fellowship, socialize. There's structure, but it's not as rigid, if that makes
Right.
sense.
I understand that. I was just kind of pulling his leg anyways. I was just trying to, let's go with committee chair. Dave, you're the committee chair. Nah, that doesn't even
sounds
work.
good.
Yeah, okay. I got an idea. All right, how about this? Who signs their name on the dotted line for the hotel? Because somebody has to sign the contract for the hotel.
I can't remember whether that was me or John Sacerdoti. One of us did.
Oh, really? So John Sacerdoti's fairly involved with it, is he?
Oh, yeah. He's a key guy. He's one of the key guys.
Oh, is he one of the key guys?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So you're putting all the onus on him to sign his name. You can't remember if you signed your name for a hotel contract?
Well, I know somebody signed it, and I can't remember whether it was me or John, but one of us did.
You think? All right. Well, anyways, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And this podcast, as with all of our free podcasts and pretty much anything in the AML Nation, is sponsored by Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Nice. I like that. That was pretty good. That was your first time.
Yep.
I wasn't 100% sure whether you were going to say that or break out into song.
Well, my jingles have been replaced by the professional ones, so we'll leave the music to the experts.
Okay, that's all right. So Dave, before we started this podcast, it's a podcast we actually recorded it a couple of weeks before the date that it's being broadcast. And unfortunately, I got some news today, and I'm not sure if you have heard it yet. But unfortunately, our buddy, our friend, our partner in crime, one of our guys who has a beautiful layout, Jim Homoki, suffered had a very extensive fire at his home.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
I know. I got a call from Joe Desmond, who's a police officer in Hillsborough, where Jim lives. And unfortunately, there was a fairly extensive fire at his home.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's okay. Unfortunately, the dog passed away. But Joe was over there, and it's not. Yeah, I know. Devastating news. Yeah. So it's very. So anybody that can help Jim Homoki out there, by now I'm sure the news has probably traveled around. But anybody that can help Jim Homoki, please do. Please contact them through the podcast or through Dave Abeleys or Tom Schmieder or any number of people that can get a hold of Jim if you feel like there's some way you can help. So,
that's tragic.
Best wishes. Tragic. Well, tragic. Unfortunately, like they say, they lost the family pet, but everybody else is okay. And of course, it's tragedy for all the work that Jim has done. And he has a lot of the Penn Central Archive material there, too.
He does.
So
he had a wonderful collection of terrific stuff. But Thankfully, he and his wife and kids are okay. That's
Yes, that's the main thing. The layout can be reconstructed, and I'm sure it'll be big and bigger and better than before. But it's heartbreaking, that's for sure. So our heart goes out to Jim. Jim, our heart goes to the whole AML nation. Our heart goes out to you, buddy.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And then hopefully by now he's got things underway and starting to turn everything around. So anyways, Dave, are you ready for the big NERPM event on June? What's the dates for it this year?
the meet is June 16, 17. That's a Friday and a Saturday at the La Quinta Hotel in Springfield, Massachusetts, 2 blocks from the Springfield train station.
La Quinta.
La Quinta.
So is it just 2 days?
It's Friday, Saturday, the meet, and then we have layout open houses on Sunday. And people visit. Some people very generously open their homes. Among them,
so it's
Chris Adams.
right.
I think you know that guy. And,
I know of him. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Bill Schneider, Mark Herrick. Some great layouts, some great people. And quite a few others as well.
And it says here it's from June 16 to 18, but the 18th, I guess, is the Sunday, is it?
Right.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Cool. How long does it take you to get there, Tom?
About 5 hours or so.
Okay, and
it's not a bad drive. It's the same as it's the same as going to Springfield, which is only slightly farther than going to my company's home office in Hartford. So it's about 5 hours.
Oh, okay. Now, how much does it cost to register for the NERPM?
Admission is $40 in advance and $45 at the door. And for people who can only come one day, we have a $25 one-day admission. And we also have a special rate for kids, 17 and younger, $15 for both days.
Oh, okay. And for those of us who have never been to the Northeast / New England RPM meet, how many people do you usually expect to have attend?
We'll have a total head count in the 230 to 250 range each year.
Wow, that's pretty good then, eh?
It's a pretty good size. We get a lot of great people, and it's a lot of fun.
And the money you earn pays for all the expenses, the hotel, and this and that, and the next thing. And
exactly.
you guys have kind of like a bank fund where you roll over any excess to the next year. Or?
When there's leftover, we save it for next year.
Perfect.
We sock it away.
And whose name is the bank account in?
Tom Murray handles that.
Well, there you go. Maybe he's the guy in charge.
Well,
and he doesn't
when it comes
know
to writing checks, he is.
So how many folks would be involved in that? Like how many people are, when you guys have meetings about the big event, how many people would be involved?
4 or 5.
Okay. And
then we have some additional people then who help out. But the guys who put it together, not just guys, the team that puts it together is 4 or 5, and we discuss things. We sort of handle the big tasks, and then we have some people who help us out. For instance, my wife is going to help out with registration. Maybe my daughter too, if I can get her to come up. And
okay.
So we have people who pitch in to lend a hand to where a hand is needed.
Okay, yeah. So there's ladies and guys, and everybody has a fine time. Because you guys, I always hear about the spectacular draw you guys have on Saturday night.
The raffle?
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday. We do it 2 nights.
That woke Tom up.
Oh no, the raffle. The raffle is the raffle. They do one Friday night and Saturday night, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I stuck around for the raffle the first time I went, because I when I came up in 15, I drove up just for the day. I drove up in the middle of the night, hung around the meet, went to a couple clinics, did my clinic, and then left a little bit before dinner time and drove home. But this past time I stayed for the whole thing, and the raffles are a hoot. with well, you probably, if you remember Tom Stock, Lionel, Lou Papineau, for whatever reason, he was born under a lucky star or something. It seems like he cleans up anytime there's a raffle.
And then 3 days later, it's on the shelf of Tom's Trains.
And Tom's Trains is located somewhere around Hartford, is it not?
Weathersfield.
Just south of Hartford. Just down south.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a suburb of Hartford, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yep.
So tell me everything you want to tell me, Dave, about the NERPM. What kind of questions should I be asking? Because railroad prototype meets, like, I know you guys really try to encourage. Like, I constantly hear people say, I'll say, are you going to such and such RPM? And they'll say, well, I don't really, those modelers are above, cut above what I do. So, I'm not sure I really fit in and stuff like that. And I mean, that seems to be a constant problem, trying to get people to realize that these RPM meets, even though they're called railroad prototype modelers meets, they're really for modelers of all expertise, right? Of all talent,
all levels. I often wonder whether we should have picked another name when we started this 20 some odd years ago. It makes us sound like we're a bunch of hoity-toities who are very impressed with ourselves. And that's just not the case. And anybody who knows me as a modeler knows that I am a duffer. I am a guy who wants to do better, tries to do better, but I'm a very, very average modeler. And this meet and every prototype meet is meant for everybody. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is encouraged. It's not the kind of place where anyone's ever going to belittle your model or make you feel like you don't belong. Everyone is welcome. Everyone belongs. And one of the reasons we really want young people to come to this is we want them to see the possibilities. To know, I mean, when I was 15 or 16 years old, if I had been to an event like this, it would have just changed my whole view of the hobby. I would have. I can't help but think it would have set me on a path much earlier to try and replicate the real thing and to do better and to learn and to realize that there's other people out there who will share their information, share their knowledge, and help you get better. And that's what this is all about. We come with our models, we show off models. People will talk about what they have, talk about how they did it. There are clinics where you can learn about people's layouts. People will present on a variety of topics, prototype, modeling, and it's for everybody. And that's the message I try to get out. This is not an exclusive group of people. This is your average model railroader who's interested in making better models. And our goal with the meet is to get people juiced up and energized to go out, go home, and get to their workbench and start working on stuff, to maybe put to work some of the skills they picked up or some of the knowledge they learned, or maybe to go look at a YouTube channel that someone told them about where they can see how someone does weathering or someone can help them do better with an airbrush. That's the whole goal, to help share information and frankly to help people have more fun with the hobby.
Yeah, well, that's a great and do you find as the years go by you're having luck getting younger people involved? Like, how do you feel like the RPM meets are fitting in with social media? Like, do you feel like you're getting the word out there? Or
we can always do better, but we try to make sure people know that we're a welcoming community and that we want everybody to come and have a great time. We're going to have some younger people at this meet. I've talked to their parents. We've got a young guy who just joined my model train club, and I've talked to his mom and to his grandfather and said, hey, this might be something he wants to come out to on Saturday, and I think he'll have a great time. He's obviously got to go to school on Friday, but I think this is the kind of event where anybody, whether you're new, whether you've been doing it for a long time, whether you're a lone wolf working on your own layout or your own models in your basement, this is just a great opportunity to see that there's a wider community, and that wider community is willing to share with you, and we'll welcome you.
Right. Is there, say somebody is a lone wolf and they come to, they finally decide, okay, I'm going to go, and they get there. Like, is there any way for people who don't know anybody to kind of mingle? Is there, or is it just kind of you gotta have enough? Because a lot of people are kind of shy about
Sure.
Sticking their hand out and stuff like that.
Well, I try to greet people especially when I don't recognize them. I mean, a lot, as you can imagine, doing this over 20 years, I've become familiar with a lot of people, and we have name badges to make it easier. And I try to welcome new people who we've never seen before, and welcome those who've been in the past, and just let people know, hey, come on up, enjoy yourself, take a look at the models. Here's the vendor room. And the clinics are here and there, and just to let them feel welcome and make them feel welcome. We had a guy come last year. We'd never seen him before, never met him before. He came. He happened to be in town on business. Found out about the meet. Came, had a ball, and he at the end of the night he was helping us clean up tables. He had such a great time. It was so juiced up and had such a good time. So it's just great to get people like that and just see new faces and bring new people in.
And I can, from my experience, years ago when I first started going to RPM meets, what I have found is that everybody is very, very welcoming. And I say that in the context of the people that are presenting clinics or the people that are having models on display. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I've given a clinic at almost every RPM meet that I've gone to, but I don't display any models because I have yet to really do any serious kit bashing or scratch building or anything that I think is worthy of being put on display. But, everybody that I've ever come across or met has been phenomenally welcoming. They're not just going to stand there behind their models at a table and wait for you to ask questions. They'll say, are there any questions you have? Or, what do you, they'll ask, what do you, it's everybody. It's a collective effort on the part of the people that are participating, whether they're delivering content through a clinic or exhibiting their models, or whether they're just there to look and see. It's very communal, I guess I would say. There's not. I mean, I remember the first time I went. I met the first time at NERPM, I met Marty McGurk and I met Craig Bisgeyer. I mean, these are luminaries in the hobby, right? And you would think, wow, when am I ever going to get a chance to meet these guys who have been, published, plenty of times in the hobby press, and they're well known, and you could just go talk to them and say, hey, I've really I really like your modeling. You've been an inspiration. I mean, it's I get what you're saying, Lionel, about some people are shy and everything, but I think there are enough people that are on the other side of it that are helping to deliver the meat, if you will, that will draw people in if they're on the shy side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And it just seems like I know basically that's RPM meets in a nutshell, but it just seems like, I don't know, the NERPM meet is a kind of warmer, friendlier place to go. And I was just, is it, Dave, are you guys purposely, or you guys, I don't know, what's the word? Not purposely, but consciously. It sounds like you guys are consciously trying to make everybody welcome.
Well, I do that just in the way as I move around the meet. And like I said, if I see somebody new, I try to make a point to welcome them and to ask them how they found out about the meet. And just to sort of give them a briefing, and sometimes that's just breaking the ice and letting people know, hey, we're glad you're here, and here's where things are. I think people find that helpful. Every meet I've been to, I think it's very similar. There's a group of people who you'll tend to see at these meets. So there's a common core that moves through these meets, and it's a pretty welcoming bunch, and it's a pretty accessible bunch, and they like to share what they do and answer questions and help people understand how they can do it too.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as if somebody wants to display models, what's the registration cost for that?
That there's nothing extra. Everybody who comes to the meet is welcome. and encouraged to bring models to show. We have a relatively large room where we have a bunch of tables set up, and you just bring your models and set them up, put them out for display.
How does that work? You just walk into the room and wherever you find an empty space kind of thing?
Well, that's where I have another one of the members of the team, Louis Segura, and his son, Louis Segura. They run the model room, and their charge is to use the table space as efficiently as possible. We're lucky in that we get a lot of models at our meet, and we fill the tables, and we just want to do our best to use the space efficiently so we can get as many people placing their models out for display as possible.
So if I'm somebody coming to NERPM for the first time, if I'm somebody coming to for the first time, how would I go about getting my models displayed?
You'd come in, you'd register, you'd pick up your envelope, you'd get your name tag, and we'd say, "Do you have some models?" And you'd say yes. We'd say, "Go see that guy right there, and he'll find a place for you to put your models on display." Now, if you got some buddies you want to hang up, you want to be together, you can do that too. But you just bring your models, and we'll help you find a space to put them on the tables.
Okay, and so it's just kind of like show up, bring your stuff. And now, do you have a limit about how much stuff people can bring? Because I'm assuming some people bring 1 or 2 or 3 models, and some people bring a small truckload.
We don't at this point. Sometimes if we're running short on space, Louis might ask people to maybe to hold off on putting all their models out, just to put a few out so that there's room for someone else. But we try to be as accommodating as we can be.
Okay. So, and where is this being held now?
It's in the La Quinta Hotel in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is 2 blocks from the train station and right where the Mass Pike and Interstate 91 intersect. So a pretty convenient spot.
La Quinta. La Quinta.
On the 12th floor. The ballroom's on the 12th floor. Nice view of the city, of the railroad tracks, the old Boston and Albany line coming through Springfield.
So I guess there's a lot of elevator time?
There is quite a bit of elevator time. The clinic rooms are on the 11th floor and I believe the 3rd floor. So, yes, there is some elevator time.
Oh, they're on the 11th floor and the 3rd floor. That's cool. And I'm assuming you have a guy that's in charge of organizing the clinics.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's you?
Yes.
Oh, you're the clinic organizing guy. Oh, you finally found a job.
I did. That's one of the jobs I do.
And why do you do that job? Just because you like doing it, or what?
Well, I've developed relationships with the folks who do clinics, and I reach out, and we are very lucky each year to have people very generously share of their time and knowledge. And so I assemble them, and I'm working on the schedule now, and we line them up. And
so what time of day? So it's on Friday. And how did RPM meets end up on Fridays? Because generally you try to organize. I remember when I was the captain of my local golf course, and you'd want to have a tournament on Friday and be like, oh my God, we can't do it on Fridays. Like, how do you manage to convince people that it's a good idea? Because really, if it's Friday and Saturday, pretty much you got to give up Thursday. I mean, I'm assuming, Tom, you're going to drive up Thursday in the afternoon or something.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be coming up Thursday to stay overnight Thursday.
The answer, I don't have a great answer. The first meet I went to was organized by Jim Six out in Ohio. I went to 2 of Jim's meets, and they were Friday, Saturday. We just ended up following that pattern. My thinking is that Sunday is a chance for people to work their way home. We have some layout open houses for people to stop on the way. But I figure it's better to have it wrapped up by Saturday night, so Sunday's free for people to head home so they're ready for Monday. I think using up a day or a day and a half at the end of the week is easier than using up one at the beginning of the week. That's I don't have a great answer, but that's it. That's the one I'm sticking to.
That's the answer.
And I think most meets follow that pattern. Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, the ones that I've been to follow that, and some even go. Some even will start like on a Thursday evening or Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, we've done that on occasion.
Have you had one since COVID?
We did last year.
And what was the response like after COVID?
The numbers were a little bit down, but remarkably good. People, I think, were excited to have the opportunity to get out and get back at it, so to speak. Just like the Amherst Railway Society show this year, it was huge, and I think people were ready.
Right. I'm going to ask you a question on the air because you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. A little bird told me that you might be one of the possibilities of the people that take over the Amherst show. Is there any truth to that rumor?
Somebody told me that too. John Sacerdoti is a guy I have a lot of respect for, and he has what he has done with the Amherst Society show in the 20 years he has run it is nothing short of miraculous. He has made it better every year. He's made it better, and I am a member of the Amherst Society. I'm on the board of directors, and I volunteer at the show, and I help, and I will do whatever I can to help sustain the show. And if I know John is getting ready to retire, and
yes,
he'll never retire because a guy like him will never retire because he's good at everything he does, and there will always be a demand for somebody like him. But he is. I don't. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure that I would be so bold as to make that prediction, but I think that I'll certainly continue to play a role as a volunteer and doing what is needed, and certainly learn from John about what goes into putting the show together. He and I talk a lot, and I try to learn about what he does, and it's kind of mind-boggling, all the work that goes into organizing the show.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, sir.
I think Dave would be an excellent replacement for John if John ever decided to step down. Don't you?
I think Dave would be. I think Dave would be great.
Yeah. So I think you and I and the AML Nation should just start pushing that.
Right. Well, as long as he knows that you have to have your parking pass.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe that's written in the bylaw someplace, I believe.
Yeah, that's key.
As long as that's appropriately documented, I think we'll be fine.
Okay. So, Dave, can I ask you a question? Before we go on, this would be an ideal time to remind everybody that this particular podcast, as along with many other pretty much everything in the AML Nation, is sponsored by Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's HO, the fast track is Rapido.
I got a lot of Rapido trailers I've bought in the last couple of weeks.
All right. Have you bought a lot of the trailers, the Fruhoff trailers?
They're really nice.
I know. Their stuff is getting better and better. And when Jason suggested that Rapido Trains was going to be the sole sponsor of A Modeler's Life, I went, "Are you sure? Do you think that's a good idea?" He seemed to think it was a good idea, and it's been going pretty well so far, I think.
Good deal.
Because we love Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
A little bit. Tom, you need to pick that up just a little. Like a tempo. Kind of like your fast track to model railroading fun.
Oh, okay.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
I was as you know, I was in the newspaper business, and we had a shotgun wedding with a TV station, and they tried to turn us into TV reporters, and there have been some bad ideas in history, but that was probably one of the worst. And one of the things I could never figure out is when you do those voice inflections. So,
oh yeah,
I never figured it out. So,
well, you either have it or you don't. You're either. I mean, I think partly you got to be somewhat in love with yourself or be a character. And I just like to make people laugh, so it's whatever is necessary at the time.
Live outside City Hall, I'm Tom Jacobs for Channel 6 News.
There you go. Boom. You got it, buddy.
Good. I think you got it.
That is very good. That's very good. That's really good, actually.
Of course, the stuff I covered didn't tend to be something you were too jovial about.
Right.
I was the mayhem reporter.
Right.
Yeah. Which was a fascinating discussion. I remember when we interviewed you for just an episode just all about Dave Owens and the life of Dave Owens. That was fascinating to learn about your newspaper, your life in newspapers. And you've been retired from that now for what?
I left the paper just a little under 3 years ago. A hedge fund took over my paper, and of course, hedge funds make everything better. So I left for a different job.
That's right. You ended up as like a social media guy for your town or a town near you, didn't you?
I work for a municipality, the town of Vernon, Connecticut, which is a town east of Hartford, home to Ryan's Deli. Some people may know of that.
Ryan's Deli. Deli.
Great.
Okay.
Great
what's the name of it? What's the name of the town?
Vernon, Connecticut.
Oh, Vernon, Connecticut. Like as in Vernon ginger ale?
I've never heard of Vernon ginger ale, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay,
How about Dean Vernon? How about Dean Vernon Wormer from Animal House?
Oh, there you go. Okay. The guys I play poker with in Florida, they're just crazy about Vernon's ginger ale and insist that I always have to have Vernon's ginger ale, and I kind of go, okay. But I mean, it's very good ginger ale, but I'm not. It's ginger ale. Let's try not to get too excited, guys.
There's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah, Vernors. Oh, it's Vernors. Vernors. Okay. Yeah, it was introduced in 1866, and it's 157 years ago. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So are you one of the originators of this particular RPM meet?
Yeah, I'm one of the original 3 guys.
And what was it that possessed you guys to do this?
That's a very good question. See, and all your questions are good because I know the follow-up. We had seen, as the internet grew as a presence in the hobby before the Facebooks, as I call it, and it was Usenet and whatnot. There were these discussion groups. You probably remember these, Tom. I'm sure you do, Lionel. Rec Models Railroad and whatnot. And then there are these Yahoo lists emerged, which have been largely displaced by Facebook, I think.
Yeah,
but
the forums like trainorders.com and all the stuff there, railserve.net, all those.
So back in 1999, 2000, I probably had my first AOL account, and I was exploring these different railroad groups online, and I saw the discussion of these prototype modelers meets, and I said, "Geez, that sounds kind of interesting. That might be a lot of fun." And Jim Six, as I said, hosted the one that we went to first, and Jim Six was pretty active at the time as an author and writing all kinds of articles, and we just it was in Ohio. We live in Connecticut, and 3 of us decided to hop in the car and drive out, and we had a ball. We met a bunch of people who to this day are friends that we look forward to seeing at each event, and we decided that we ought to try and do this in New England. We didn't have one up here. There was the original around Chicago, the Naperville meet. One got going down in Cocoa Beach, a great meet down there. Jim was doing his. And there were some others I'm sure I'm forgetting. And we decided we wanted to try and do one in New England. And at the time, I was still a newspaper reporter, and I used to go cover meetings in the town of Canton, Connecticut, which I was covering. I'd cover a planning and zoning meeting or a board of selectmen meeting. And I'd sit in the Canton Community Center, which was an old school that was partially the community center, partially the Canton Public Library. And I would sit in this room during particularly boring parts of the meetings and say, this would be a great room to have a model display in. And so this group of friends and I began toying with the idea. We initially lined up a hotel we thought would work, and it didn't work. So I went to the first select woman of the town. I told her what I wanted to do, and I had asked her if we could rent the community center. And her attitude was, so you want to bring 75 or so people into my town who are going to patronize my businesses and spend money? And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, you can rent the community center. And as Tom can tell you, we outgrew that community center. We were probably up to 200 people at the end, and everybody loved Canton and Collinsville, the little village within the town of Canton, and the LaSalle Market, which is where we'd all go for lunch and have this great food. And it was a great location. We had classrooms that we would use for the clinics, and we just kept growing. And what we struggled with there was no real good lodging nearby. There were a couple motels that, well, let's just not say anything else. And so we wanted to get into a better location. And that's where John Sacerdoti proved to be a big help. We moved into a hotel. He helped us because of the experience he has with the Amherst Society. He's got a lot of relationships with the hotel management community, because he rents a lot of hotel rooms in the winter for the show. So
sure.
So he worked with us and helped us really move the meet up a notch, and has been an important part of the meet ever since. And that's basically how we got going. And it's sort of grown a little bit each year, and we keep going. And it sounds hokey, but I just, people have a great time, and that's all I care about. I mean, I want us to come out in the black, pay all the bills, but people have a good time. And you see people hanging around, talking, laughing, having a good time. And that's what it's all about. Just having fun.
Well, and it doesn't sound hokey, because the thing that I've gotten from talking to you over the years and talking to people like Kaylee Zhang and anybody else who goes to NERPM, like David Start and the Start boys, they always go to NERPM.
Those are great guys. And they're the kind of guys who we would have never have gotten to know but for the meet. So, and those are the kind of relationships that are I view them as really important and special. And I look forward to seeing those guys and we see them a lot, and it's always great to run into them.
There you go. And I know David starts listening to this. So which one is your favorite, either David or Bill?
They're both great guys.
So, okay. But what I was going to leave, you said it sounds kind of hokey, but I think that's kind of the not uniqueness. It's one of the things that kind of gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling. I mean, NERPM, you're right. Like, you wish they kind of had picked another name, but I think, RPM sort of works. And I think the key to these things, like I was saying to somebody, there's the one in St. Louis. There's a great RPM meet in St. Louis. And you think with the popularity of these things, if people could figure out how to publicize them even better, I think you'd get even more people there, because like I was started to say, it may sound hokey, but that's kind of the truth. Is you just want people to come and enjoy themselves and go away feeling better about the hobby than they did when they got there.
That's it.
And so how many clinics do you think you'll have?
I will have 28 scheduled clinics, and then Teddy DiOrio is going to do a weathering clinic that will be ongoing through the meet. He did that last year as well. That was a big hit. And the only thing preventing us from having more is the available space. Every year I'm just blown away by the generosity of people to come and share their knowledge and whatnot. And I'm grateful for what they do, and I wish I have about 5 or 6 more clinics than I can schedule. So I wish I had more space so I could put them all on, and I'll bet I could fill a schedule of darn near 40.
Really, eh? And there's people that would like to give a clinic but don't get the chance because you just don't have enough space.
That's it.
And so how do most people give their clinics twice? No,
we just do it once. If we had more space, I would like to do some of them twice, for those who are willing to do it twice, just so that it's easier for people to make choices. This one's going to repeat, so I can catch that one later. You know what I mean?
Right. And so how many? So do you have 28 individual clinicians doing 28 clinics?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. It's very impressive. And how long is each clinic?
We set aside an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half per clinic, but we ask people to shoot for 45 minutes. Less is okay too. And and then people can, we don't want there to be, someone complained one year that it was too much like high school. People were filing out of clinics and heading right to the next. So we want it to be more of a relaxed atmosphere where people can mingle, go to the model room, go to the vendor room, go, get something to drink and not feel pressure that they got to run to the next clinic.
That's a great idea, though, really, when you think about it. That's a great way to describe clinics. Like, yeah, you kind of want that time in between. So, like you say, you can kind of go to the washroom, you can ask questions, you can get a drink. Yeah, you don't want it to be rushing from one clinic to the next.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to be able to check out the vendor room. You want to be able to check out, the display room. You need to buy your raffle tickets and put your raffle tickets into the bags. And you can't do that if you're scrambling from clinic room to clinic room.
And there's a vendor room as well.
Mm-hmm.
There is.
And how big is it? As big as the display? Like how big are these ballroom size?
The display room is I would say a medium sized ballroom, and there are some manufacturers and some vendors in there. Tend to be the smaller, maybe one table manufacturers. The specialty guys. And then we have Ron's Books, which is really the premier book dealer, I think, in the country. We have Ron's Books in the model room. We have Finero and Camerlengo, who make those great resin kits. We have Best Models, Bollinger Edgerly, Scale Trains, those guys who make wonderful kits and all kinds of parts and neat stuff. We've had Bob's Photo in the past. Bob can't make it this year. We have one of our local buddies, Steve Mignani, who for years had a hobby shop in Wolcott, Connecticut. And he comes up, he continues to be in the business. So we have those guys in the vendor room. They tend to be multiple table vendors. And then we have some smaller guys up in the model room. And then we also have a white elephant table where people can bring items they want to sell. And we have John Sacerdoti staffs a white elephant table, and people can sell their stuff. He collects the money, and then people cash out and go spend it on other model stuff.
Okay, so do you get any like other major manufacturers like Walthers or ESU or?
We've had
JD?
ESU in the past. We've had Rapido since Bill Schneider's so close by. Scale Trains has come in the past. They won't be able to make it this year. We've had people from some of the other manufacturers, Walthers, come and attend the meet. Some of the guys from Atlas. Atlas used to come. So we've always had a lot of, and it's always a great opportunity for those guys because they can speak directly to their customers and also gives us, of course, the chance to speak one-on-one with those guys. At a big show, it's tough because there's so many people, but at a smaller event like ours, you can have those longer conversations, more detailed conversations, and tell Bill why Rapido ought to produce this particular locomotive or freight car. And why
Dave
Yeah.
Dave Abrams can be there and just continually talk about the U-37B, I think it is. I think that's the one he's always going on about. And well, I was going to ask a really good question. I wonder what it was. Oh,
okay,
yeah.
All good.
Tom?
Yes, sir.
Are you taking anything to display?
No.
Have you ever taken anything to any of these RPM meets to display?
No.
Reading GP35s go anywhere, Tom.
I know they do, but my modeling is not.
See, I asked you this specifically because I knew that's what you're going to say.
Trick question. But no,
Yeah,
I haven't done anything that is out of the. I haven't done anything. I guess I would say that demonstrates any significant level of skill beyond putting a kit together, spraying it with some rattle can spray paint, and throwing some decals on it.
Well, that's perfectly acceptable. Most of us are that person, Tom. Look at me. I'm a dope,
I would hardly say that, but
well, you saw the models I showed were Sylvan kits that I built of fire engines and my flat cars hauling tanks. Those were. I think Sylvan kits are so nice. Anybody can build them because if I can build them, anybody can build them. And
that's what I said.
It's just I'm an average modeler, and that's we have that mix of people like me, and then we have like the Butch Eilers of the world and the Mal Houks of the world. Mal who builds steam locomotives out of pieces of brass, and you just look at it and you go, "How'd you do that?" And
I'm interrupting, which is really rude when you're the host. I shouldn't do that. But I'm excited about this particular conversation because I think that's what a lot of people are missing about these RPM meets. Like I knew Tom would say he doesn't take anything. And I'm thinking, here's a guy that's building a gigantic layout in a dedicated building. And he loves the Reading and he's dedicated his model railroad to that. And I'm thinking, how do we get these people to also enjoy it to a point where they would feel like, okay, I've got this, Reading Jeep 35 that I deckled and weathered and added a couple of details to. Like, how do we get these people to understand that there is no level of it? It seems to me the common thread through RPM meets is if the model's not spectacular, don't bother putting it out. And that's not done by the organizers. That seems to be a common thread of thought that people have that even attend these meets.
I would urge everyone to bring along a model. I'll tell you, Tom, I'm sure that your models, people would get a kick out of seeing them. There would be something in your models that someone would find interesting and want to talk to you about. Probably me, because since the Reading is my primary interest as well. But don't sell yourself short, Tom.
All right. Well, I'm sitting here looking at a project that's currently on the workbench, and actually, this might be one that might make sense to bring.
But okay, I apologize for picking on you, Tom. But why do you think it makes? I'm using air quotes now. Makes sense to bring? Because I'm under the impression from Dave and from other people that run other RPM meets. People like Eric Hansman would be a perfect example. I'm under the impression from Eric and Dave that it's not important. It doesn't have to be spectacular modeling. It just has to be what you enjoy.
I would think I say you are absolutely correct.
And how has it gotten to a point where people feel? How do we get rid of this?
It's probably that prototype word.
I was just going to say. I was just going to say, Dave, I think that's what it is. And I think that's in my head that I feel like I'm looking at this boxcar, right? And it's a 60-foot double door XLL class boxcar that the Reading had to haul auto parts. Now I'm using the Walthers Pullman Standard model, which is close enough. The door sizes are right. The car length is right. But it is not, by any stretch of the imagination, fully faithful to the prototype.
But that's okay. But you could explain to someone this car is pretty close, and This is what I'm trying to represent. And I think people would like to know about that, and would probably be interested in doing the same thing. You were also doing those Hershey cars, and there's no 100% match for them, but it's an interesting subject, and I think something people would be interested in learning more about. I mean, we can't. Not everything is perfect, and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't limit ourselves.
I didn't even think about that Hershey car. Thank you. Well, and this auto parts car, what is making me think that it might be worth bringing is that I did the decal artwork with Highball Graphics, so the decal artwork is 100% accurate.
So there's a radical concept for a lot of people right there, designing your own decals and having them made.
Right.
That's something that people would find very interesting. And if that car is sitting on a table, tell me about that car, Tom.
Yep.
And I had these decals made. Whoa, really? I think you sell yourself short, my friend.
All right.
And I think a lot of people sell them.
You're right, Lionel. Yeah. I agree with 100%. Everybody
kind of like
has something to offer. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you now. Everybody has something to offer, and they should not feel like they're not worthy, because everybody is. Everybody's got something that I think is probably worthwhile and people would enjoy learning about.
Yeah, I mean, you and I know that every year we pretty much have the same conversation about NERPM, but that's because we both have the same. I think at the end of the day, we both have the same goal is to have as many people enjoy the hobby as possible. And really, we're trying, like it's, you get the sense that people feel like, oh, well, if I'm not scratch building, a certain Jeep 35, it's not worthy to be on the table. And I get the sense, like I have a whole fleet of, 70-ton hoppers that I had on my layout. They have my own decals on them. I've weathered them. I put on better wheel sets and KD couplers. I feel like I could put out a string of 4 or 5 of those, and it would be quite acceptable. And it's really nothing more than an Intermountain kit with some weathering and some decals and painted. Like I could put out. I have several different kinds of hoppers that were on my layout, and I could bring one of each. And it's just about showing your stuff. It's not about that my stuff is better than your stuff.
Correct. 100%.
Right. It's kind of like the hockey analogy I always use. It's like Wayne Gretzky's a hockey player and I'm a hockey player. Now he's way better at it than I am, but we're both hockey players. And you could use that same analogy for people at the RPM meets. There's going to be one guy whose modeling is spectacular, and there's going to be another guy whose modeling is just regular modeling, but they're both model railroaders. They're not anything different from anybody else. I think that's something that you and I need to figure out how to get that message across to the world.
And that is the truth. That is the way I look at it. Everybody is welcome. Wherever you are welcome. And I have no doubt that everybody can bring something of interest, and others will get something out of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you're just looking to, because when something's put on the table, is there like a little card that says, okay, this is Tom Jacobs, and there's a little description of it or something?
We give out file cards, and people can write as little or as much as they want about what the model is, whether it's a locomotive or a freight car or a passenger car. Talk about what they did, or if it's just a box car out of the box with some light weathering, that's okay too. People, they bring whatever they bring to it. That's okay. Everybody's welcome.
And some people actually have like detailed descriptions that they'll bring along beyond that file card. They'll have like a one sheet thing with like a prototype photo, and they'll have a description of the prototype car and then how they went about building it. I mean, some people really go to the effort to tell the story, and you'll see that, at these different meets across the country. So it's, some people will really go to lengths to explain their process and the history and everything, which is always interesting.
Yeah, the models probably are really just a way of getting people together. I mean, if you just had if you had the meet without the models, people would still enjoy it. But the models are just the models are really just part of the whole experience.
Yes. And in our model room, we keep the tables lower. Some meets they'll elevate the tables. We keep them down at regular height, and we have chairs in there because we want people to come in, hang out, and just feel comfortable to chat and have conversations about, hey, how'd you do that? Tell me about that model.
And so I went to the main page of NERPM, and it's let's see, it's just simply NERPM.org. And do you know why it's .org, Dave?
That's because that's what Tom Murray set up.
No, it's because you're organized.
We are modern. And all the information you need is on that page, and you can register on that page. You can register through a link on that page. You can download a form and mail a check if you'd like. But the big thing is, if you need a hotel reservation, the link to get the best deal is through the link on our page to make a reservation at the hotel, and you can do 3 nights, 1 night, 2 night, and you get our rate, our special rate, which is the best deal going from at this point.
Is this the first time you've had it at the Liquita?
It's the second year.
Okay. And did your guys pretty much fill up the hotel before?
We had a good number last year. I think we're at about 175 rooms now. Our block is about 200, and I hope we fill that up, and that I need to call the hotel and beg for more.
Wow, 200 rooms, holy mackerel!
And
that's a lot of rooms.
I don't want to give you the wrong idea about us, but they're going to have the bar open. They promised me they're going to have the bar open for us.
What about meals? Is it get your own meal? Like, is there any kind of banquet or anything?
There isn't at this point. The hotel has a restaurant, but as of last year, it was not open. They do serve breakfast in the morning, but downtown Springfield is right there, and there are a bunch of opportunities for meals nearby. There's a bunch of restaurants in Springfield and nearby.
Yeah, and people get the groups together, and that odd person that comes by themselves, we gotta watch out for them so they can.
And we can find a way to hitch a ride for them to hitch a ride. And some people will take the train, and we'll make sure they can get together with a group of people if they're either walking someplace or driving someplace.
It must not be that far from the casino, then, eh?
No, the casino is probably a 15-minute walk.
Oh, okay. So it's like right downtown Springfield.
Yes, sir.
What else do we need to talk about? I think we got oh yeah. How do you get all these prizes? How do you manage to beat on all these manufacturers to cough up all these prizes?
Well, again, we're just lucky that these folks are so generous. I send out an appeal, and many respond, and then I employ my buddy John Sacerdoti to rattle the trees a little bit too, and things happen. And we usually end up with a pretty good selection of items for the raffle. And of course,
I hear that. See, I'm
what we raise from the raffle.
Now.
So what we raise from the raffle helps pay for the meat.
Oh, okay. The raffle tickets are, I'm guessing, are like $5 for an arm length or $10 for an arm's length or something.
$1 each, and then there are increasing quantities as you go up. And I always forget these details, but I have people who handle those things.
I have people. So are you bringing something now, Tom? Have you decided to bring something?
I will bring a few things. Yes.
Good.
What time does the clinic start in the morning?
The clinics. So registration. The meet is Friday, Saturday, but we'll have early registration for people who arrive on Thursday. I'll probably be in the lobby, getting people all registered and ready to go. We'll do it beginning at 8 a.m., maybe a little earlier on Friday and Saturday. And the clinics begin at 9 a.m. And the last one wraps up at about 9:30 at night.
And what time do you have the raffle? What time of the day do you have that? After the clinic?
Right after the last clinic.
Oh, okay. I bet that sounds to me like it's always a fun time.
It is. And I usually do it, and I lose my voice, but it's a lot of fun. And as Tom said, there's always someone who is very lucky, and the more they win, the more we mock them and make them feel bad.
Well, that's a good idea. Readying. That's a mouthful. Readying the reading. Readying the reading.
Readying the reading. Yep.
That's a mouthful. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I guess one of these days I should actually put the clinic together.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, I decided I've been giving the same clinic for so many years about the development of the layout, and now that construction is almost finished, I feel like I need to change it up. Like I need to do something a little bit more than here's how I built my layout. So I think I want to start focusing more on how we're getting ready to start operations and talk about the prototype a little bit.
Like I said, you're doing it probably all on PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the beauty nowadays too. I mean, if you're making a clinic, you can take so many of the photos with your phone. I mean, holy mackerel! When I did clinics, it was all by slide, and of course, taking slides was a major undertaking in itself. So nowadays, man, I wish I was starting over again. I just take pictures with your phone. Man, you could put a clinic together in a pretty short order.
And I always tell people that that model they're working on, that project could be a clinic. It could also be a magazine article. And take photos as you go along, and you've got what you need, and you can talk about how you did a particular car or a locomotive, and it really is. The technology has made it a lot easier.
So how many clinics go? Like, are there 2 clinics at a time?
Yeah, 2 clinics at a time, and then we'll have the weathering clinic going as well.
So there's decisions. There's decisions to be made all day long.
There are.
So when you're making the clinic list, do you sometimes go, "Oh, geez, I shouldn't put this guy up against that guy because everybody's going to want to see this, or everybody's going to want to see that, or that kind of thing"?
It's more of the subject matter. I try to have. I don't want to put similar things together because I figure there's going to be some commonality of interest. So I try to, put a modern against an older, like a steam era versus a modern clinic, to try and balance it that way.
And how big are these clinic rooms?
They probably seat 60, 65.
Okay, so because if you've got 250 to 300, say between 240 and 280 people, or as many as 300 people, they can't all fit in it. So they're out they're out wandering around, and some people are in clinics, some people are wandering around, that kind of thing.
Sure. Not everybody wants to go to every clinic, so there's a mix.
And so it sounds to me like the model room is pretty active with a lot of interaction in the model room itself.
It is. It's sort of the center of the meet. It's the life of the meet. It's where the people hang out and do their thing between clinics. Or, if they're not at a clinic, they're probably in the model room hanging out.
Right. Yeah. How much, is there any clinics that you want to see in particular, Tom? Have you looked at the list?
I'm looking at the list right now, actually. And there's a couple. Definitely, I want to see what Mike Rose has with his Lehigh line update. Eric Hansman's got a weathering clinic. Chris Fitness has his Modeling the Valley Local. That's always a good show. And then Bill Schneider, I'd like to see his, because I definitely want to stick around till Sunday and visit Bill's layout. I really want to see his layout.
That man is efficient.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he's not hooked up right. That guy.
Because I'll tell you what, because I remember, I guess it was the Mid-Atlantic meet a few years ago, where he was just thinking about his design, because he was in the process of, I guess, building his new house or whatever, and now all of a sudden it's basically he's up and running. So it did not take him long to get to where he's at.
I went down to see Bill last January, not a year ago, just as we were beginning to emerge from the pandemic, and I was blown away. I mean, it's amazing what he achieved in a very short period of time, and I mean, he's an amazing modeler. It's just spectacular.
Isn't it funny how some guys are just so good at it?
They are. I mean, there's. I don't know if you're familiar with Neil Schofield. His layout is just breathtaking. Jim Homoki's, which unfortunately may have been damaged, was another one. Just an amazing layout. And Jim is just one of those modelers. I may have told you this, Lionel. There was I like vehicle modeling, and I spotted a Mack truck model, a Mack R on Jim's layout, and I thought it was one of the Athearn models. It was that old Magnuson resin kit, and it just, Jim is that good. He just brings things to the next level. He's an incredible modeler.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate news. So hopefully Jim goes to NERPM regardless, and can get some good vibes from everybody, and kind of make him feel better rather than worse, because it's a pretty tough day for him, that's for sure.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I think we covered it. Oh, no. I don't think. Yeah, I think we've covered it all, haven't we? You can get. You just go to NERPM.org and click on that, and boom, you're right there. Or you can put New England Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet in Google, and work the Google on the internet machine, and it'll pop up.
Yeah, we also have a page on Facebook. You can find us there, but the website is really, we do. I'm on the Facebooks with the meet, and but everything is really on that webpage.
All right. Let me say I'm going to go to the Facebook page, see what there is to see on the Facebook page. Let's see.
That's right. Offer updates, and Eric Hansman posts his stuff, and we try to share information there about other meets through the year.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's something there posted on May 14th, and I mean, yeah. So it's pretty. Yeah, you're pretty steady putting stuff up there. Okay. So on May the 9th, you said if you're thinking of coming, be aware that they're running low on rooms.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good rate too, eh? $1.19 a night. We're
a week later this year. Normally we're a little closer to Memorial Day, but we're later this year because we delayed it a week to get the better room rate. It would have been a little more expensive going earlier, so we decided to try and make it less expensive and go a week later.
Okay, so Sunday's the Father's Day. Will you be honoring all the fathers there?
We will honor them all.
Okay.
By having layout open houses.
I think our goal in doing this interview every year is to encourage people to. I'm on the Facebook page now, just going through the photos, and I mean, it's like some of the stuff is spectacular, and some of the stuff is I consider myself just an average modeler. I've only ever considered myself nothing more than an average modeler. And I mean, if you're trying to decide what you should write up and stuff like that, there's plenty of pictures on the Facebook page that can give you an indication of what people might write up. Here's one by Eric Hansman, and he just says prototype represented, Reading XMP boxcar, and it tells I can never say this, Fanango. What is it?
Fanaro Camerlengo.
Yeah. And he just puts custom decals for 1926 appearance. I mean, you don't have to be putting tons of information down.
No.
There's one pretty simple stuff. I think people need, just a nice model with a bit of weathering on it will do. Like that. If that's what you've got, bring it along and put it out there so people can see it.
Agree, 100%.
Here's one from our buddy Mike Hauk in Fairview, Pennsylvania.
Those are photos. Those are photos I posted from to the group from formerly the Greensburg meet, which is now in Youngwood, Pennsylvania. We went to that back in March.
Yeah.
And I took a bunch of photos and posted them to the Facebook group just to share the photos because they were great models.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's just if you're looking for some sort of an indication of what you need to write up and stuff like that, you just go on the Facebook page and take a look at the pictures, and there's all kinds of pictures, and it also gives you a very good indication of the modeling doesn't have to be spectacular. It's really about bringing out your stuff and displaying it.
Yeah.
That's all.
And just being part of the community.
Yeah.
To which everyone is welcome.
Yeah. All right. Here's a Reading locomotive that's just a Reading locomotive. Nothing spectacular.
But it's got the drip strip. That's what we love. Right, Tom?
Yep.
Oh, it's got the drip strip. Okay. And that might be the only addition to it. All right, that's it.
That makes it Reading.
Okay, the drip strip. Because guys that model the Reading are...
Strips.
All right, is there anything else we need to cover, or have we got her covered?
I think you did a magnificent job.
I think we all did. Because this podcast, as with all podcasts, well, as with everything in the AML Nation, is sponsored by Reading Trains. No, not Reading Trains. Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
There we go.
Yeah, let's start. Let's do that one all over again, Tom, because I completely screwed it up.
You gonna fix it in post?
Yeah, yeah. This will all be edited out. Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Which one is your favorite? Have you heard both of the jingles now, Tom?
I've heard them all, I think.
Yeah, which one's your favorite?
I like the one that has like the European sound to it.
I know.
And if it's H-O, the fast trains are Rapido.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
I thought that was kind of like a South American. Whatever it is, I love it.
To me, it sounds like Eastern European.
Okay. I love it anyways. And hats off to David Hyde for organizing that for us, because they're great. And I'm sure you've heard them, Dave, because you listen to all the podcasts and some of them twice.
Some of them 3 times.
There you go. What's the population of Vernon, Connecticut?
About 30,000.
215. 30,215.
Just
What's
crossed
the
over
elevation?
30,000 with the last census.
Yeah, it did. What's the elevation?
40,000 feet. I have no idea.
390.
Okay. And I've been to 389.
What's the zip code?
06066.
All right. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. All right. So that's it. Tom, can you give out our email address?
Our email address, if you'd care to reach us by email, is modellerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with 1 L, as in Springfield, not 2 L's, as in Collinsville, which actually, now that I think of it, has 4 L's.
But who's counting?
Exactly. Or how about this? 1 L like Springfield, not 2 L's like Toland County, where Vernon, Connecticut is.
There you go.
Nice.
That works.
Or Dobsonville.
Dobsonville's part of Vernon's an old mill town. I don't want to bore you, but there were lots of textile mills, and it was a happening place. Made a lot of Civil War uniforms. There was incredible ingenuity, incredible wealth when the mills were happening. And then as all that went away, the town struggled to some degree. There was actually a town called Rockville, which is a separate town in Vernon, and then they merged because Rockville had fallen on such hard times. But it's a beautiful, neat town.
Dave, I apologize profusely.
For what?
Just trust me, I'm apologizing, and I hope you accept my apology.
I do.
Because if you didn't want to bore us, why did you come on the podcast?
Fair enough.
I apologized ahead of time, but you walked me right. You walked me right into that one.
Well, yeah,
come on,
deserved it.
You walked me right into that one.
I am the master of useless trivia, though.
Well, that's good. That's good. All right. So if you missed the email address, if you go to our website, amodellerslife.com, and scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state. And you just click on that picture, and boom, the email address comes up, and all you got to do is fill in your text, and you're ready to go. And we have and if you enjoy this podcast on our free channel, which is sponsored by Rapido Trains,
your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Then you can just go over there also on our website and click on Patreon. And for just a few cents a day, you can have twice as much podcasting every week. You get a podcast on Monday and then one on Tuesday. But on our Patreon channel, it's more of a homey. It's more homey. It's more family. It's kind of laid back. It's kind of, you just never know what you're going to get on the Patreon channel. It's kind of like living in Mayberry with Barney and Andy.
And Floyd the barber.
I need to find a new barber. I had the same barber for 40 years. And I'm trying to find a barber, and I've tried 2 or 3, and every one of them says, well, how do you want your hair cut? And I'm like, the same way the guy cut it for 40 years. I don't know.
I usually say with scissors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had the same guy for 40 years. We never talked about how to cut my hair for the last 39 of those 40 years. He just did it every 3 weeks. I went in and he cut my hair. There was no thinking.
Did he not keep records?
I don't think so. I think he knew how to cut hair, and he just cut it. He just, hey, how you doing today, Mike? Oh, pretty good. Blah, blah, blah. Did you see the game last night? Sure. And before I knew it, my hair was cut and I could leave.
You need to go to one of those old school barber shops with all the pictures on the wall, right? With the heads and the numbers, and you just say, "That's me, number 14."
Yeah, there you go. Let's see, what else do we got to tell you? Oh yeah, and finally, If you want to, Dave, have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
Oh, yes.
Well, are you in luck? If you go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and go on the menu bar and scroll across to Other, and click on that, and the drop-down menu, you see AML Shop, and boom, in there is a wonderland of AML merchandise, hats, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, and in there you'll find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
But no ketchup on it, right?
No ketchup. No ketchup on a hot dog. You don't put ketchup on a hot dog after the age of 8.
Sure you do.
I don't know why you would. It's a hot dog.
Yep.
Relish, your basic, Dave, here's your basic game dog. Relish and mustard. There you go.
I'm partial to chili and kraut.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know if you can get those, though, at professional sporting events. You're lucky to get relish and mustard.
I think you're
Sometimes there's onion. Sometimes there's onions. All right, that's it. We're done. That's it. We killed almost an hour and a half talking about the NERPM, the Northeast, the New England Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet on June the 4th.
16-17.
16-17. 60 Fridays, June the 16th, Saturday, June the 17th, and Sunday, June the 18th is layout tours. Correct. And I highly recommend everybody go to Chris Adams' house. Like all 270 people go to Chris Adams' house.
And I believe Chris is going to be making hot dogs.
Yeah, and brownies. Yeah, and brownies. There'll be brownies for everybody. Everybody go at the same time. You know what? Why doesn't everybody arrive at Chris's house at 1:35 and just pull up and there'll be attendants doing the parking and free hot dogs for the kiddies, free budgies for the kiddies.
I hope Chris comes to the meet now.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Are you ready, Dave?
Yes, sir.
So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
hot dog vendors.
Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi, with 7 convenient locations in the greater Busted Knuckle area.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
I don't think we've ever had hot dog vendors.
That's a new one.
Yeah, I think that's a new one. And all the time we've been doing this, I don't think we ever had hot dog vendors.
We've been much more on the demand side than the supply side of the hot dog equation.
Yeah, that's right.